Welcome once again to the newest edition of 3 In, 3 Out, the most unique Seahawks recap show in the multiverse. I'm your host, Clinton Bonner, and I am joined by the one, the only, the great Brandon Schultz. And Brandon, this is wake up and grind, smell the coffee. We are doing a breakfast edition of 3 In, 3 Out. You're accommodating me. I'm in lovely Siesta Key on vacation, and Brandon just woke you up out of bed like Bob Wiley. How are you doing today, Brandon?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I probably could have been up much earlier. I text Clinton yesterday. I'm like, hey, are we doing 3 In, 3 Out on Sunday? I seem to remember us doing that. And then the next time I hear from Clinton is when my phone is ringing as I am sleeping in bed. So
wait a tick. I'm going to the videotape. Hold on a second. Hold on. I love it. This is the best. So, and I quote, are we recording 3 In, 3 Out tomorrow? Then I said something about one of our sponsors that I was like, yeah, not there yet. Then I wrote, yes, for tomorrow, go live at 10 a.m. Eastern.
When did you send this?
It was right there. I don't want to show the whole conversation, but it's 7:48 p.m. yesterday, time-stamped. That's okay.
The next text that I have time-stamped is 6:51 a.m., but that's fine.
Wow. Okay. So somewhere, somehow, some way, Verizon gets a do better right away to start the show up. So I am on vacation, Brandon. There's lots of things happening here. I'm down in Siesta Key. I've got my beautiful T-shirt on that I just made. I even have my hobo hat, Brandon.
Hey,
my hobo hat is
that. Sean Payton would be proud.
That's it. Yeah. No bucket hats here. No bucket hats allowed, but the hobo hat, which does nothing for you. Very, very in play. Love it.
You've got a room full of echo, which all the audio engineers will love.
I'm sure it sounds great. And apologies, I am here, and my portable mic was not.
It's fine.
It is what it is.
Why I called out the audio engineers? They're the only ones who will really care.
That's it, exactly. They'll be pointing at the skies, shaking their fists. And we are here. It is 3 In, 3 Out. We had our first preseason game. And of course, if you are here and you're watching us on YouTube, we want you to click, hit the like, and very importantly, subscribe to the show. If you're watching it later, youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast, subscribe there, subscribe on audio, come in and join the flock. And as we get into this season, Brandon, there's probably folks that don't even know what 3 In, 3 Out is yet. They've seen the Seahawkers podcast, but this is new because we really only do it during the season. And Brandon, we got to remind the folks, there's one rule. There's really literally one rule on 3 In, 3 Out, yet every single year. I forget that rule. I started the show, can't remember the rule. That's why you're here. What's our one rule, Brandon?
It's been a long off season, and yeah, I did just wake up, but it's a rule that I remember because I have to, or else we never get it out there.
Correct.
Clinton, when our Seahawks win, we start with an in.
We start with an in, Brandon. So let's jam that button, hit the whammy. Let's start with an in. And there's that lovely music. Okay, so we're starting with an in block, which is nice because winning is better than losing. Don't care that it's the preseason. Always want to win. All right, going right here, Brandon, in Q1, 5:20 to go in the first quarter. It's 3-0 Vikings. And there's a kickoff. The play they're trying to eliminate every single year with more and more dumb rules. However, Brandon, there's a certain Seahawk who all of a sudden is receiving kickoffs, which big surprise for me. He's standing back at the goal line. Ball, basically is kicked to the 10, 11-ish, gets it on the run in a flash with some decisiveness and quickness. We're at the 40-yard line. Brandon, do you know who that Seahawk is? Who took that one?
Seattle Seahawks cornerback and former Oklahoma Sooner Trey Brown.
The Boomer Sooner Trey Brown. I love me some Trey Brown. I know he got burnt. I'm not even going to say got burnt. I know he wasn't quite tall enough to defend the touchdown versus Muse.
Thrown pass to the end zone for the touchdown.
Actually, great defense. Tough play. But not even talking about that. Man, D. Eskridge gets dinged. We know he's out 6 weeks anyway. And here's Trey Brown. And Trey Brown doing his best Godwin Igwebuike impersonation from last year. Quick, decisive. Mabry gets a block on the edge, springs him a little further. Nicely blocked, but really nicely run. Like, saw what he could do, took everything he possibly could get, 30, 31 yards later in a flash. Man, sign me up, Brandon. Sign me up. He should be returning kickoffs for me. Big for me, my first in. What do you think?
Yeah, whether it's, I mean, and you saw that just from the one play that we got from him.
Yeah, one.
You know, D. Eskridge goes down on the very first play of the game. It sounds like he's going to be okay, but has a twisted knee. But we've seen injuries like that keep D out for a while, and he's going to be suspended for the first 6 games of the regular season too. So that gives us some time to see potentially through the rest of the preseason what Trey Brown has, if Jackson Smith and Jigba might be returning back there. That's who was back there at the start of the mock game. And we didn't really get to see a whole lot from him in the return game from this past game. But, you know, maybe Trey Brown could be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also okay with the combo of if they want to do JSN for punts and then Trey Brown for kickoffs. They are a different thing. And you really, in my opinion, for punts, you just want your absolute most short-handed dude. Like that's the A1. You have to have that, and that's probably JSN. And then he's obviously so decisive and understands what to do kind of in almost like a preemptive state, how to make the most out of tight spaces. So I wouldn't mind a combination there. Plus your punt returner gets the fair, well, I guess now everybody can fair catch, which is stupid, but the punt returner can fair catch. But I like that combination. Love seeing Trey Brown there. That's an early in for me. We're going to keep this episode of 3 and 3 out pithy because I am on vacation. So hit that whammy. We got some outs. All right. 24-13 victory. Wasn't all roses. A couple of things that stood out for me, Brandon, that were a little, men's amends. I'll preface this out. This is when we sneak it like a stuffed pepper. We sneak it in and inside and out. It's a tactic, especially when we win. I'll preface this by saying, thought Drew Lock played really well. Really, really well. I it's spreading the ball around, checking down, doing the things, tight windows when he had to. Even the interception was tipped, all good. However, I'm going to get on Drew's case for the very first play from scrimmage for the offense. Ooh. Because we just talked about JSN. We got JSN going to the flat. Love the idea of getting him the ball first and foremost. Weeks and weeks ago, it's probably like 3 months ago now. Well, maybe, I forget when the draft exactly was, but I've already predicted the first play from scrimmage for the year will either be a dump down to either Lockett or JSN over the flat for like 6 to 8 yards. Just boom, start the game off, and it's 2nd and 2 and immediate pressure on the defense. I think that's what we were trying to do here. Lock poorly times it, like it's a badly thrown ball. The reason he's wearing an out so quickly is he almost gets JSN killed. First play of the game, and it's like a not a horse collar, but tackling a guy by the neck because It was a terrible pass, terribly timed, and it kind of set us off on an oof foot there. So Drew gonna wear an out for me because you can't get our prize gem of the offseason almost killed on the first play. So Drew got to wear the out.
Yeah, that was probably that moment of the game, and it stunk that it started off that way. Where it's like, oh gosh, okay, here's real football. This is when guys could start to go down, and I didn't want it to be JSN, and I'm glad that he popped right back up, but it took me back to D. Eskridge, on the first play of the game in the regular season of his rookie year, where he gets hammered by one of the defensive backs and gets concussed and ends up having to go out. So yeah, you don't want to see guys go out quickly, and I was a little bit worried about that hit.
Yeah, it looked weird, right? It was one of those where you're like, ooh, you don't like to see a guy getting like British bulldog into the turf on the very first hit when they got the pads on. And
he made the catch though, and I think he got positive yards out of it.
I think it was a 2-yard gain, right? So he made the catch, popped right back up. Anything quickly on JSN from you, other than since it is 3 and 3 out, we're not going to talk about the big players like that too much, but anything else you saw from JSN that you did like?
Oh, just that he was consistently getting separation. Every time it was going his way, you didn't see any catches that were contested with the defensive back right there because he was getting so wide open. So that's, I think, what we want to see from him. And hopefully we get to see more in preseason just to kind of wet that whistle for the regular season. But so I'm curious, though, your prediction. Is that the prediction for week 1 against the Rams, or was that your prediction in your mind for the first game or for the first play of the preseason?
Yeah, I'd love to retrofit that and say that I'll be right twice. However, it was just for the regular season. So
Okay.
I think first play from scrimmage, it's a little, Gino, either probably not under center, probably shotgun, 3-step drop, boom, right over, like whether it's Lockett or JSN, one of those dudes sitting inside the hashes, second and 2, and then we'll run the ball for first down, and away we go in the season.
It makes for a better prediction that way, because then it's just right now you predicting after the fact and already seeing it.
I like the cut of your jib. All right, hit that button. Let's get back to another in. Okay, so we're gonna stick in the first quarter here. We'll bounce around a bit later. However, first quarter, 1:30 to go, 3-0 Vikings. It's a 2nd and 6 play, and man, I got to tell you, Brandon. In general, the run fits. I know it's preseason, but the run fits are what they are. I have to give some love to the Matty F. Brown, the Seahawks overload guys, because I do learn from them. They're X's and O's guys. I'm not. However, they've been talking up a while that the run scheme is different, that they're taking the nose and they're like one gapping it essentially directly over the center as opposed to either side of the center, and then letting our dudes get upfield. This particular play, 2nd and 6, there's a right tackle that tries to swing his hips. I'm not sure who it is, like 74 for the Vikings. Pardon me, I'm not going to know a preseason Vikings guy. Maybe he's a starter. I don't know. It's okay. It's not a Vikings podcast, so they can go fly a kite. With that, our guy, number 92. So Tyreek Smith, man, to me, he showed out. Other guys did as well. But I listened to a lot of different post-game analysis and different reaction shows. Did not hear a lot of Tyreek Smith talk. On this particular play, his guy tries to swing around him. And yes, it's a run play, but he ducks inside to hit, inside the tackle, blows this play up to smithereens, and he's got help on the outside from Jonathan Sutherland, our strong safety. So to me, it was like, okay, you might be like, all right, it's he didn't have contain. He didn't set the edge. He didn't have to. Strong safety's down the box. He's got him pinching there, basically a run blitz. So he knew as soon as that tackle swings to his side, he could just dart upfield, causes the havoc he's got to cause. They don't block Mafe coming from the other edge because the play's going to the right side, and Mafe is able to, get the guy from the back while Tyreek's got him by the ankles for a tackle for a loss. Just really nice, real nice run fit that I saw there. Wanted to give some love to Tyreek Smith. Haven't heard his name quite a bit yet, but I thought the dude showed out and looked really good.
Yeah, well, we ended up doing 2 post-game shows, one over on the Bleacher Report side, and I think it was on that side that I talked up Tyreek a little bit more than we did on the second show. It was, when you do 2 shows back to back, it's real hard to remember what you said the first time, and you don't want to repeat yourself and end up then repeating yourself for a third time. So we may not have got to him in the other show, but yeah, I thought he was one of the standouts among the secondary guys when we got to see a little bit more Ty Smith on the field.
Yeah, he was explosive. He looked really good. And then there was a play in the third quarter, about 4:15 to go, just to give a double in here, where he doesn't have the safety help in the box. So you're like, all right, can he do the job of setting the edge? So if anybody wants to go back and watch that timestamp, it's like 4:15 third quarter, and it's him. He does exactly what he's supposed to do, which is just get wide, keep the guy right at the line, and sets a beautiful edge, and they force the run back inside, and they make a nice run stop there too. It's either at the line of scrimmage or another tackle for a loss, but very impressed with Tyreek Smith. Like what I saw, and from a dude that, basically we didn't see, well, not basically, we didn't see at all last year because he was just like a red shirt injury. So nice to see a lot of good stuff from the defensive line. We'll talk a bit more about them in a little bit. But for now, let's hit that button. Let's get to another out. Okay, so this one doesn't have a timestamp specifically. However, there were some issues on the left-hand side of the line in general, and I know that you guys did talk about that. I'm going to pick on a guy that I would not pick on if I was in a room with him. Let's put it this way.
Well, I wouldn't pick on either one of those guys, but if you want to get super specific with it.
That's true. I think rule of life 17 is don't pick on a guy named Stone, and rule of life 18 is don't pick on a guy who's 6'8" in Greg Island, right? No. So a 25-year-old, 6'8" fella, he's playing left guard in this game. There was just too many times for me where everybody talks about, you can't be that height, 6'8", because your pad level, you can't get low enough. It's always, I get it, but I'm always like, well, I get it, but I don't get it. Like, why can't they get low enough? What's happening? And a couple of times this game, it's literally that. Brandon, he's getting stood up and then walked around way too easily for a dude who is 6'8", 300+ pounder. He's an athletic guy. I want to see more from him because he's got the frame. He's played at a very high level. In this game, though, a lot of inconsistency and a lot of almost like being like a turnstile. Just guys getting into his pads, standing him up, and then getting around him way too easily. So going to give the out to Greg Island now. He's 25. He has plenty of time to go learn. He's obviously got the athletic build. However, for me, a little bit of a demerit, if you will, and want to see more from Mr. Island and all 6'8" of him. What'd you think?
It was a rough game for him, and on the left side, you can't put it all on him. Obviously, that Stone had his share of plays too, where he was allowing pressure into the backfield and not being where he needed to be. When I was watching the mock game, I thought Stone played a little bit better on the right side, and I don't know if it's because Curran wasn't playing as much, but he just, for whatever reason, seemed a more natural fit over on the right side. And I guess if you're going to play that backup spot, being able to play both sides a bit is better than nothing. But man, if Cross were to go down, that would really test the depth of the Seahawks backups, because I don't know. I guess it probably would be Stone over on that left side. And man, if we're relying on Greg Island too, if he's going to be the secondary piece at left guard, I'd be real concerned about that too.
Yeah, we got some explaining to do on the left-hand side as depth pieces. However, I don't think we're unique in the NFL with that challenge, right? That's one of the toughest things to hold on to.
Right.
And still will be interesting to see when they get down to the 53. And that, remember, they got this the first time the league has done this thing where they're cutting from 90 to 53. So that's going to be like this third or fourth or nth wave of free agency that is going to happen this year. And I'm looking forward to that because the Seahawks are year in, year out, very savvy with their, the unrestricted free agent play. And it's almost like another wave of that. And when you've got a pool of people coming out and it's like, all right, where can I go where I know it's a good culture, this is a team that's going to compete, and a fan base that loves them. Seattle's going to check boxes really simply that it's like, all right, they're giving me the money, I'll go there. So whether that ends up being a nose tackle or whether that ends up being some depth piece in the line will be interesting. Or maybe just in game 2 and game 3, these boys step up and they're sharing ins next time around. I'm going to hopefully spin that to the positive. Right, that's the out. Let's get back to our third in. Notice I didn't say final in. Our third in. Hit that win. All right. This might be my favorite. We're going back to the defensive line. And again, not so much a timestamp as saw this early and I saw it often. And I want to call it out because I've heard people talk about the players. I haven't heard people talk about the philosophy we saw unfolding with these players. So it's going to be a little bit of a love for the defensive coordinator as well. What I liked is the combination between Mike Morris and Derek Hall off the edge, like off their side, the right-hand side. Specifically, we saw them running a bunch of stunts together. And it was really just beyond cool to see effective. We talked in the preseason, well, now still in the offseason, now they're in the preseason. We shared some stats that Seattle was one of the teams that stunted and blitzed the very least in the entire league, was really kind of vanilla as vanilla gets last year, and was still an effective pass rush team. I would say tie for 5th. You would say tie for 10th. How we shuffled the math last time, but one more sack than the 49ers, which we could all celebrate. And this year, I think we're going to see some more, proactive, meaning trying to really stimulate that pass rush in different ways with 4 dudes. So you'd see Morris darting to the right and then Hall looping around him on the stunts. And the cool part for me, Brandon, is just a few weeks ago, literally a few weeks ago at this point, Morris was sitting at 275 pounds playing out there. So they bulk him up 30, 35 pounds. They move him inside. He's still agile enough, 6'4" with a huge frame. And now all of a sudden he's putting pressure to the right. Hall looks like a grown man, right? They're out there like already like, oh, that's what a grown man looks like. He's coming in, and then you got Miles Adams pushing the pocket. He's just collapsing as nose right dead center, and you're getting immediate havoc right in that middle. Love what I saw from that combination. So going to share the love for Morrison Hall and some love for Clint Hurt there too. To me, that was just like, ooh, of all the things I saw, put a star on that. Let's do that a lot this year, whether that's with that particular combo or not, but they looked real effective as a duo early. So Morrison Hall, they're sharing the in. What do you got?
Well, you'd like to see that in the preseason too, because you want your top draft picks to kind of overmatch the backups on another team, because you expect those guys to be starters, or you hope so anyway. And so if they're showing at least some kind of dominance within the preseason over some other second team guys, then that gives you a little bit of hope that once they get in there against the first teamers, that they're able to do similar things. And generally, the reason guys end up being second teamers versus first teamers, they struggle with picking up stunts and that sort of thing. And I think we saw that from our own left side of the offensive line. So
We did.
yeah. But it was, I like the look of those two for sure.
Yeah. And I think you and Adam talked about it maybe 2 episodes ago now, that, Hall's game, he'll learn other stuff, but Hall's game is strength. Right?
Yeah.
It is power. So when you put him in that position to stunt and he's able to loop around, which is like, all right, he gets going, gets the momentum. And then he's just putting an arm into a dude with everything he's got, which is a lot. he's got a lot. And he's in a position just to drive a guy back on his heels. I really like what I see there. So fired up about that beyond belief. It's just nice that first game 1, and we're looking at our rookies shining across the spectrum here, which is really, really cool. So just fired up for that. All right. So I did say earlier that I didn't say let's get to our last in, because it's the preseason. I'm calling an early Omaha audible and saying, you know what? We don't need 3 outs. Let's put a little more shine on somebody. Instead of picking on somebody in the preseason who might not make the team anyway, let's put some love on somebody that maybe does make the team. So one more whammy, one more in, kind of hit it.
4 in, 2 out.
That's
the name of this program.
Omaha preseason siesta key vacation special. Here we are, right? So might as well. Like I'm on the beach last night. It's lovely, and people are like, Florida's hot. Yeah, it's hot, but the beach is windy. It's gorgeous still. Anyway, so listen, I liked what I saw from Charbonnet for the most part. He runs upright for my liking. However, he still did some cool things. Gotta like what we saw from Kobach, especially that floater out of the backfield on the swing route. Beautiful touch by Locke, and Kobach looked good. However, if you're asking me to just not know who was drafted where or not drafted, little breadcrumb there, and just open my eyes and watch a game of football and say, who was the sharpest looking running back? I think Roderick Thompson, like he's the dude. I don't care if there's third stringers in there or 8th grade kids. When he's running the ball, maybe it's something about the violence in which he runs. I certainly think the aesthetic, and I mean that, like the aesthetic of seeing a big dude with the dreads flying around, like I think of Marshawn, right? But we're Seahawks fans. We're going to love that. But I just see Roderick Thompson. I think he's very decisive. I think he is an extremely aggressive and just jump cutty type of, not jump cutty in the Barry Sanders style, but decisive cuts where he moves with a lot of purpose and momentum. I like what I saw from him. I thought he was the best looking running back on the field for our Seahawks, which is saying something. So I'm giving it in to Roderick. There was one play specifically around the left-hand side. It got flagged and pulled back.
Yeah.
But it's not about that. It's about the way he's moving with the ball. And I like what I see from him, man. So what do you think of him? And do you think with the running back room, is he making this team? Does he have a shot? Or do you think practice squad bound? What do you think?
I would say he's most likely practice squad bound just because of the depth that they do have, with Kenneth Walker, with DJ Dallas, with and we didn't get to see any Kenny McIntosh, but I think that once we see him, we might like him a little bit more than Thompson. And then, of course, you have the second round pick in Charbonnet. So that's not somebody that, if you're trying to hold on to him and see what he has, you're not going to put Charbonnet out there as a practice squad player, because somebody's going to end up snatching him up. And so I feel like the depth at running back is probably pretty solid. We're talking about, whether or not Sir Roderick can make the practice squad, or Kobach, one of those guys, maybe both, just to have the extra depth at running back. But I liked what we saw out of Thompson, both from the mock game and then from this game. Yeah,
I mean, you and Adam talked about guys stacking stuff. We didn't talk about Bobo because Bobo got all the shine, and deservedly so. I'm excited about Bobo. Bobo looks to be like, okay, wide receiver 4. There you go. There's our guy, and then figure it out. And we got a great wide receiving room. But we're not going to talk about Bobo much here. But Sir Roderick had a nice mock game and now stacks it with a nice performance here. We'll see what week 2, week 3 the preseason look like. But I like the guy. I like the way that dude runs. So I'll be, we'll have an eye on him as we go forward too. All right. So Brandon, we went through 4 ins, 2 outs. We broke the paradigm a little bit. That's okay. Our house, we make the rules. However, speaking of rules, Brandon, we have our one rule. You said it earlier. We win, we start with an in. We have a second sidecar rule, sorry to break the rules once again, but this rule is not only when we win do we start with an in. However, when we win, we get a bonus room in. It's called the Brandon. You get to serve it to me. What do you got today? What's your in and why are you picking it?
I think we started that rule just because I would end up throwing an in anyway, because when we win and start with an in, it means we also end with an out, and that just never sat right with me.
That's done.
And so I wanted to get an in there to finish on a positive note. And so I'll start with, if we did have a third out, I might give it to Zach Charbonnet.
This is a Brandon. You just
I know, but I'm moving around to my in by starting with an out.
Got it.
And saying that I did have. There was a play on the right side where Charbonnet had the widest hole that I think the Seahawks offensive line had created all day.
Yeah.
And he was only able to get 9 yards out of it. And the receiver blocking the outside corner, the corner was on the correct side that he could have probably shed his block and tackled Charbonnet. I guess I just would have liked to have seen him, rather than cut it inside to where there's bigger guys to tackle, maybe go outside and try and take on that cornerback who's coming off a block. Because the reason why he's getting my in is we did see some nice physicality by Zach Charbonnet. He had, I don't know if it was a run up the middle or a little dump off pass over the middle, but the guy came up to make a tackle, and Charbonnet did not move and put the guy on his back. And it was only maybe a 4-yard gain, but it was that kind of physicality that I like to see out of him. So if, maybe he's not so good at being decisive and getting into open space, but if you can take a dude out and then run over the top of him and get a few extra yards, I like that too.
Yeah, I like that you like that, because I like that too. And the aggressiveness and the ability to kind of do like a little rock'em sock'em robots with the guy, where they hit and that the heads kind of popped up and away they go. I did like that from Charbonnet. So he did show his mettle right away, that he does have that kind of desire for contact, which I think is important, which we've been talking all offseason. I'm like, hey, he might steal some goal line touches. And you and Adam are like, he didn't really do that in college. And I'm like, well, I think he kind of did. So we've been having a little tug of war.
He got goal line carries in college. He just didn't get into the end zone, which is kind of the goal of having the goal line carries.
And I think the bigger point for me is I like the aggressiveness, and K9's back. I think he was in practice as of yesterday. So he's back on the field, which is awesome. The thing is, K9 gets that hole. He is He's up that thing to the right side, and then he is challenging that DB you mentioned because he's like, I'm faster than you. You're somewhat engaged. Good block, good pizza, bad pizza. Who cares? And he's around that edge. He's probably gone. That's because that's what K9's game is. It'd be great to see the dynamic balance that they do bring together. So speaking of the yin, the yang, the out, the in, the whole thing you just gave, Brandon, I thank you. Greetings and salutations for that. So that's our ins, that's our outs. We have one more segment we like to call From the Flock. But Brandon, these are folks giving it to us. They're hitting us on the Discord. They're hitting us on the YouTube comments. They're hitting us on Twitter. They're hitting us in the Seahawkers Pod Ring of Honor. And if you want to get your comments read on 3 in 3 Out, then really Discord and Ring of Honor are the place to be. So what do folks got to do if they want to be part of this in a really fashionable way?
Yeah, you can become a member of the flock at getintheflock.com. You can also join via YouTube. There's a join button on the YouTube side. And once you're there, if you're helping to support the show and you send me an email at gohawks@seahawkerspodcast.com and say, hey, how do I get into this Discord thing?
Yeah,
I will shoot you a link. You will be a part of it. And we have a channel right there to where you can offer your ins and your outs. And we'll do it live on the show.
Yeah, look at that.
Right now.
I'm going to be reading it. Typically, I'll prepare a doc so I could bounce them back and forth, but I'm on vacation. So I'm going to go right from the Discord here. We're going to start with Josh Tehuman, a huge advocate and out there doing lots for the show. Always great friend, great fan. I love this because it also allows us to mention people that we haven't talked about yet. He says, in Devin Bush's versatility, dude has been there for every tackle when he's in on the field. I didn't talk much Devin Bush. Brandon, anything you saw from him that was, piquing your interest?
His coverage ability, I was impressed with. When guys were coming over the middle, he was getting real sticky, especially when you notice them playing man coverage. And so I was excited about that.
Yeah, me too. So he looked, hey, I hope he shuts us all up. And then we're like, we were a little bit wrong here or there.
The issue was injuries. So yeah, don't get injured. And
yeah, very, very much. Right. That's it. And now he's hopefully fully back from that and just back to full speed. We also have Frost in the Discord, simply with the in, we're back, which got some love in there, which is nice. So, all right, Josh Tehuman one more time had Olu looking great at center. Olu. So we didn't talk the Olu Evan Brown dynamic. I know you and Adam did. I thought Olu looked pretty good. Again, center shining for me. Anything about the Olu piece for you?
I think it's going to be a fun competition. I hope that we get to see a little bit more Olu. One of the things they were doing early on in camp is they were bouncing back and forth between Brown and Olu. So I do wonder if we'll see a little Olu with the first team when we get to go to the game in this upcoming preseason game. So moving on to Karkar from the Discord. She says, in football is back. It's hard to judge how good or bad we are with it being preseason. So it can just be fun. And love seeing Trey Brown coming back.
Yeah, the funny part is in my brain, I completely forgot that Brandon also has access to Discord. He can just go, yeah. I'm like, I didn't prepare the doc. I'm reading it from Discord. And Brandon could just go to Discord and read the same thing I'm reading. Completely didn't think that was possible. Until I was like, what wizardry? What's he doing? Yeah, he's just
how does he know?
Literally did not think about that. That's hilarious. All right, Car also says into Bobo, which Bobo looking the part, looking great. Everybody loves a good Bobo. Also Frost, 1 down, 19 to go, and then we'll see what happens in the playoffs. I love that. All right, take the next one.
Design Pete's Beach House. We got Amy saying an in to the rookies getting a chance to start with an in.
Yeah, that's also nice. Stubbs 42. This one really grinded my gears. I know it did for you too. Out mid-game interviews. We got JSN lighting up the field.
Yeah.
They put it in a 2x2 box if you're lucky on the side of it. And it's a Justin Jefferson love fest. We all know Justin Jefferson's great. And I get it's the Vikings broadcast, but come on, like you got the next Justin Jefferson out on the field doing things, and you're interviewing a guy. Like, come on.
Okay, here's how you know if you're a Seahawks degenerate or not. If you were watching those mid-game interviews and you could see the screen up behind him during the interview, and you were like really squinting to try and catch the replay up on the screen behind him in the in-game stadium screen, just to try and get a glimpse of maybe what happened. Yeah, if you were like that, then we're the same.
Yes, yeah, we are simpatico. All right, take the next one.
Hawk Van Dyke with the in. What is this whiteboard thing? Where did it go?
Yes,
Oh,
right
Bobo.
here.
Into Bobo.
Yeah,
there it is.
I can show right there for those
I had
watching
to
on
click on
YouTube.
it to get the animation to work.
Yeah, look at that. Very, very, very cool. So good job by Hawk Van Dyke with the Bobo in. All right. So then we got Red Wagon out on the Discord, basically saying, hey, the broadcast not starting until I guess 2:30, whatever it was in the morning. A lot of people saying that were out in the PNW that instead of the Seahawks game, they were getting the Women's World Cup final, which did not feature the United States.
Right.
And they're like, we don't care. Put the Seahawks on. So that was a vibe. All right, want to take Flocktimus for the next one.
Okay, we got Flocktimus with Kaysen Jake Bobo with the end.
Oh, I love that. I love that a ton. He also said out the way Holton Ahlers looked throwing that touchdown. Ridiculous. So, yeah, he just a wing in the
One of
prayer.
the most fun plays of the game, Flocktimus.
Keith is calling out the ridiculous of just throwing a ball to the sidelines. And you know what? It was something. Nice play by Landers, recognizing it. Then the okey doke for the touchdown. But love that Keith is just saying, like, dude.
You want to be Lou Brown, the manager, and say, nice throw, Ahlers. Don't ever do it again.
Don't ever do it again. Love it. Love it. All right. We got some more Flocktimus if you want to take some more.
Flocktimus saying, that's my boy Mafe. I'm excited to see his development this season. He was getting called out by Michael Bennett early on in the broadcast too. That was fun to see.
Yeah, Mafe, we talked last year. We talked a lot. We're like, look, we got eyes, and this dude's setting the edge really, really well. He's supposed to be an edge, specialist to attack the passer. And what I would say is the more difficult thing to do in the NFL, he's doing better or more effective than we expected. So not a big shock to me that a year in with more tutelage, he's coming out there and now maybe honing those pass rushing skills to go with what is clearly the ability to be a really good run defender. That dude's going to play a lot of football, man. Boye Mafe this is a good, young, aggressive defensive front. And I was on the Shakes Montana podcast. He's a Giants guy, and he had like an NFC West roundup. And we're going through the division, predicting division champs. And all the other dudes are like, yeah, the Seahawks defense, you're lying. Yeah. And I'm like, just sitting there, be like, all right, like, I hear you. I know what we saw last year. And I think they're in for a rude awakening with what this defensive line can be about. And boy, is going to be a huge one there. All right, Brandon, that actually wraps up our From the Flock section, which is excellent. So just want to say thanks for folks, joining us this morning. We got over 40 live viewers right now, which is
hit the like button while you're at it, people.
Yeah, hit the likes. And if you're out there on YouTube, please subscribe. It is very, very simple. Hit the bell, subscribe. It helps us grow on the audio. You want to subscribe and download. And, people say, oh, if you're not able to donate or subscribe in a way with monetary through gettingtheflock.com, it's okay. There's a 2-year freeloader period, which is very gracious, by the way. However, when you are freeloading, the only thing we ask is tell 2 flockers. So they tell 2 flockers. So they tell 2 flockers, and the whole Hawkra grows. Because Brandon, we are up. I am highly caffeinated. I'm about to hit the town. I am fired up. I'm ready for this Cowboys game week 2. And Brandon, this is going to be a fun season. So what a kickoff we had on 3 and 3 out. And I appreciate you waking up as early as you did to join me this morning, Brandon.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.